Welcome to Extraordinary League, an actual play RPG podcast brought to you by Smash Fiction. I'm Dan Mulkerin, your game master. Playing Stitch is Kit Mulkerin.
Yeah, Cthulhu Fatah.
Oh no.
Where did that come from?
Playing Dante is Liz Logan.
I never have to worry about burning my hand anymore when I make Lunchables in my Easy Bake Oven. Oh my god.
Playing Nico Minoru is Miles Schneiderman.
Alright, let's see if I can find a different way to say this, because I've done it a few times. You depart from here and use your genitals to penetrate your own body. Is that different enough?
Playing Luna Lovegood is Megan Bob.
Dear Bowser, I wish mail could travel between planes. I thought it could, but without a DDC, I suppose the mail just sits there. Or perhaps the owl I sometimes gave it to turned it into a nest. That would be nice. The point is, whether or not you ever get this message, I'm so sorry for hurting you, and I hope you're well. Yours, Luna.
Playing Mordin Solus is Claire Mulkerin.
The hallways are quiet, so is my lab. The refrigerator's full of food to grab. It's been months since I've had to fire a gun. In the past I've tried inventing, but with no luck. But now that I am free of those chuckle fucks, I finally managed to get some work done. Oh, but now I hear that they're returning, and I'm glad that they're okay. But I'm not sure how I feel about today, 'cause for the first time in forever, they'll be all up in my lab. For the first time in forever, they'll be showing me their abs. But weirdly, I'm kind of eager, so I might have some syndrome, 'cause for the first time in forever, my Ohana is home.
Previously, your adventure in the Mushroom Kingdom finally came to an earth-shaking end as you recovered your DDC, defeated the villainous Dr. Robotnik, and banished a great old one, before returning to Castle Grayskull with the much-sought-after blue gem in hand.
Can I have like a reunion thing with Mordin before they go off and do stuff?
Absolutely.
What's like the room that we teleport into where like the extraction point out of Eternia is? It's just kind of like a room that's its pure function, right?
That's correct, yeah. Some people refer to it as the arrivals room, but yeah, it's just a chamber set aside because there's an extraction point in it.
We'll say that I was somewhat nearby, and they all appear, and I like poke my head in the door, and I say, you're back. Don't go anywhere. Back in one moment. And then Mordin runs away.
Stitch and Lace just sort of look at each other confused. They're sitting in the Jeep as it's idling.
Nico leaves.
Who was that?
So Mordin's going to return that in a second, and he's holding a bunch of little boxes.
Aww.
Got things for everyone. Artifacts from worlds. As I was going through, trying to repair devices that have been brought from our various teams, I came across things that reminded me of each of you.
Stitch runs up and grabs one and starts opening it.
Well, that actually, and then he's going to try to pull that one away. He's like, this one is for you. This one's for you. Here.
But both. But why only this?
That one is for Luna.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
Which one is for Dante? I want that one, too.
Stitch, down boy.
Stitch throws the president Dante and says, "Psych!"
I'm going to hold out a box to Stitch now and say, this one is for you.
Okay. He takes it, jumps down
My
off of
face.
Mordin, and ends up shredding the box.
There's like a metal device in it that is like a sort of a handheld thing. It's like a flat surface, and it has all these like pointy teeth that come down out of it. It sort of looks like a really, really weird hairbrush. That's a piece of a device that was originally designed to file down starship plating, but I believe that it could be used, in your case, as a hairbrush. It's been difficult to find one that could hold up to your fur, but I think this will prove quite good and hold up to your superhuman strength, so you can go as hard as you want on that, and it should be fine.
Oh. Stitch tests it out by scratching his booty with it. It's good. Thank you, Mordin. And then he politely walks away with his gift.
So I hold out a little box to Dante.
Dante's gift was literally just thrown in his face.
All right, that's fine. So inside of it, there's what looks like a metal index finger that looks similar to the one that you already have on your robot hand.
I get a 6 finger.
Yes, well, It's actually a replacement for the index finger that you have. There's some added functionality that I think you will find quite useful. Mordin's going to hold it up, and he presses a little switch on the inside of it, and the top digit of the finger unfolds, and a little tiny red plastic knife pops out. It will help with spreading pizza sauce.
Does it vibrate?
Not by itself. At a molecular level, I suppose it does. Why do you ask? And then he has one out to Luna as well.
Oh, thank you. I have something for you as well. And Luna gets out her bunch of seashells that she got on the beach. These were from I don't remember where we were. Somewhere in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Thank you. These structures are quite unusual. I'm going to have to put them under a microscope and figure out what's going on with these. But these are quite interesting. Thank you. They almost look like they're related to some sort of fungi. That's very unusual.
So Luna opens her present.
Yeah, so inside you see what looks like a little bracelet, and it has a little compartment in it. I believe this was used on some worlds as a way to hide a knife that could pop out to stab someone, but I don't think you're the assassin-y type, but it occurred to me it could be used to hide a wand in it. That it is a spring-load thing, so you could fire it out. So you won't have to be reaching to your belt all the time, and in case you're trying to go incognito, it's a extra way to hide it.
Oh, thank you.
I know you don't always think tactically, so I'm trying to...
No, I don't.
He says, and where did Nico run off to?
Probably her room, if I had to guess.
Well, I will do my best to find her, and Mordin's gonna head off.
So you've all had some time after you returned from the Mushroom Kingdom. What have each of you been up to?
So I visited Lara Croft, and I acquired 50 cans of Cool Whip whipped cream. So I had her help me construct a Cool Whip machine gun of Cool Whip, and then her and I go into Stitch's compartment. I don't know, whatever he lives in. And we open the door, and I go, psych! And spray his entire compartment with Cool Whip.
I think that where we established where Stitch was hanging out was like in a little tower.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was like a bird's nest situation.
Yeah.
So it was just
Yeah, well, now it's full of Cool Whip.
so Stitch blinks, like a little cartoon, very audible blinks, covered in Cool Whip. And he's just like, yeah!
I throw the gun aside and I'm like, yeah! Start throwing strawberry ice cream all over. Woo!
We have a fucking Cool Whip party up in the
Lara
tower.
Croft watches from the doorway and then just says, I don't know why I expected something different to happen. All right, anyone else?
Yeah. She didn't go to her room, in fact.
Okay, where did Nico go to?
So, I think she feels the need at this point, after that last adventure, to go have some talks with Flemeth.
So, Nico, you step into the tall-ceilinged, darkened chamber that serves as Flemeth's center of power. She is seated atop the elevated throne overlooking the room and watches you as you enter as though she had been expecting your return. And she nods at you and says, "Welcome back, my apprentice."
Thank you. How's everything been?
Oh, it's been very interesting. The League has been working on a new project that I'm certain they'll be throwing a lot of you into soon. Word around the castle is that you managed to use the Tome of Eternal Darkness to banish some sort of great old something or other.
Yeah. I just, is there a table?
Yeah,
with
sure.
A chair? Alright, I just, sit down and put my feet on the table and throw the book on the table.
She stands up, walks down the staircase leading up to her throne, and sits across from you, and says, "You look a bit more disconsolate than I would have expected from someone who pulled out such an impressive victory."
I mean, I know I did the right thing and everything. I know that banishing it saved a lot of people's lives. But I just felt for a second like I could have captured it instead and used it. And let me tell you, if I could have mastered this thing, and I know that I could have brought some serious shit down on Phyrexia without the need to search for any more of these stupid rocks.
So why didn't you?
I don't know. I think really it just came down to the fact that in the end somebody I felt was telling me to. And usually when people tell me to do things, it's the wrong thing to do.
She begins to trace her fingertips lightly over the cover of the book sitting on the table in between the two of you. And she says, "This book is full of dark magic. Now, many would say that it is full of evil magic, but those people would be wrong. There is no magic which is inherently good nor evil. It is only ever made one way or the other by those who use it. But don't be fooled into thinking that evil is only ever brought about by evil intentions. There are a great many well-meaning mages that have brought about acts of great wickedness and destruction because they incorrectly believed themselves capable of wielding a power that they could not. I believe that, had you attempted to bind the creature that you encountered on that plane, then you would have been consumed, if not by the creature directly, then by your own dark impulses that would have been let loose like a storm within you. The trial before you, young mage, and the one that you have been undertaking since the day you first opened this tome, is to discover the limits of your abilities. Not just your power, but your control. But remember that no limit is ever set in stone. There may come a day when, should you encounter Dread Cthulhu again out in the multiverse, you could make him kneel before you without fear of losing yourself.
Well, I mean, that's gotta be the goal. I don't know if we find all of these stones, and if we manage to put them together and they do what Doc Brown thinks they're gonna do, and what everybody else thinks they're gonna do, then great. But I figure it couldn't hurt to have a backup plan in case that doesn't work.
You are not wrong. Think about the good that such power could bring about. Think of the many lives that you could change for the better with a creature such as that brought to heel, far beyond this conflict with Phyrexia. That is what the small-minded multitudes will never understand. They caution of the price to pay when we dabble in the arts as we do, without ever acknowledging the price that is paid when those such as us refuse to use every resource that is available to us. That is when the greatest of harm comes about, when we could have stopped something but do not.
Yeah, and I think that I need more than just this book. Maybe more than the staff. I need to find new sources of knowledge and merge them into a greater whole, and I think maybe then...
Well, there is certainly no shortage of powerful magic out in the multiverse, my young apprentice, and you are in the unique position of being able to go out and look for them. I think that if you are to keep your eyes open and your senses alert, you will find what it is that you are looking for. And in the meantime, I can always offer you some of my expertise in the matter.
That would be exactly what I was coming here to ask you for.
She smiles a thin-lipped smile and just sort of nods eagerly.
Stitch ain't had enough of that race in life. And he sees it in lace, too.
Uh-huh.
Sees it in lace.
Okay.
So
Something about that last encounter with Cthulhu really spoke to Lace, really awakened something within her behind the wheel of her cart.
how much time are we spending here?
I was imagining at least a month or two.
Oh, it's plenty of time to set up a drag race thing in the back area of the
Yeah, there's a
castle.
lot of wasteland around Castle Grayskull, so...
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're definitely setting up a shitty ripoff of a Mario Kart stage.
Okay.
If it's a Mario Kart stage, it probably is a circle around the castle.
Yeah.
Maybe you drive through the castle at one point,
fuck
which
yeah.
really just pisses off everyone.
This is basically Stitch's way of having fun, plus also helping Lace get better at driving.
So Stitch is not learning how to get better at
Oh
driving.
no, Stitch is already very good at driving.
Okay.
This is for Lace.
Lace is learning how to drive better.
Yeah, Stitch is throwing shit out the back of the car.
Okay.
Dad, our party has lacked one thing, and it's a wheelman.
That's true.
I'm a wheelman. I have driving attributes, man.
Yeah, both Dante and Stitch already have vehicles, but we needed a driving dinosaur.
So I imagine Max Rockatansky is also a member of this little drag race
Oh yeah.
collective that you have going on.
Yeah, we have our first race against the B team because they made their tank. And
Oh,
everything.
okay. So Sir Didymus, Finn Balor, Mad Max, James Bond, one of the James Bonds, and Amethyst, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. How does that race go, Dan? How would that?
I will make a driving check for their team if you want to make a driving check for Lace.
In my mind, Amethyst is actually transformed into a car that is being driven by Timothy Dalton James Bond.
Very good.
Yes.
I'll say Sir Didymus is riding Ambrosius.
Oh god, he's gonna lose. Anyway.
I was wondering if Lace is wearing like a racing jumpsuit.
She is now.
Has like some branding on it.
What would the branding be?
Obviously Cool Whip.
Oh,
Cool
yeah.
Whip, yeah.
And Lunchables
Cool
and
Whip.
Easy Bake Ovens, apparently.
Yeah.
So we have 3 vehicles in the race. There is Amethyst as a car being driven by Dalton Bond. There is, I will say, Max and Finn Balor atop their, war wagon. And then there is Didymus riding Ambrosius.
Okay.
And then Stitch and Lace in the Jeep cart.
Yes.
All right, let's see how this goes.
Oh, Blaze got a green.
Okay, so Lace came in second.
Okay.
The team of Mad Max and Finn Balor was a formidable one indeed, as they tore through both the castle and its surrounding area with a great deal of proficiency.
I mean, look, you can't beat Team Best Accent, alright?
True.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that Dalton Bond was fighting too much with Amethyst in terms of, when they wanted to accelerate and brake, which way they wanted to go. And Didymus leapt on Ambrosius's back and then ran off into the wasteland and hasn't been seen since.
Oh, that's right. Ambrosius was going the wrong way.
Yep.
Dalton Bond, incidentally, an honorary member of Team Best Accent, but not official.
Very
Oh
good.
my god. Did the 3 of them hang out together all the time now?
Oh yeah, nobody can understand what the fuck any of them are saying. It's great.
So, Luna, after getting that present, she went to her room, sort of didn't come out much for a few days, has come out periodically, has not really changed her clothes or brushed her hair, spent a lot of time going to the kitchen and just taking a bag of meat and a bag of apples down to the stables to feed whatever's down there. Finally gets it together enough to get a shower and everything, and goes to hang out in the infirmary. Luna has cut off a lot of her hair. It is very clearly she did this herself.
like how short we talking? Like pixie cut or like a bob?
I mean, that would require a level of skill that is not in evidence. More like something around the ears, but part of it is, veering towards shoulder length. Yeah, so just goes to the infirmary and then kind of trying to quietly help Mordin by handing him various things.
Glad that you stopped by. Always nice to have an extra set of hands. They were in short supply while you guys were gone.
Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Something on your mind?
I don't know. I hurt someone that I didn't want to hurt, and I tried to do the right thing, and I hurt a friend. And if you hurt people when you're trying to do the right thing, are you really doing the right thing?
Read the mission reports. You're referring to your interactions with Bowser?
Yes.
Knew you were, of course, doing the right thing. I can relate. I have had similar experiences. There was a time when I helped engineer a disease to lower the fertility rate of a hostile species that was spreading across the galaxy. It was important work, but it ethically difficult. Caused a lot of great anger and tragedy and suffering. Prevented greater suffering, perhaps, but still difficult to live with.
How do you live with it?
When you work for the good of all, sometimes that means individuals suffer. Sometimes you must even cause them to suffer, quite directly. In the time following my work on the Genophage, I studied many religions. After seeing all the suffering and even sometimes death that was caused by my actions, I didn't want to believe that life ends here. It seems too wasteful, like I have so much more to give. But none of the answers that I found from other religions seemed satisfactory, just questions. So eventually I just went back to something small. I got a clinic on a space station called Omega, and just took care of individuals, just one day at a time. I think maybe our minds are not meant to operate at such a scale, to carry the burden of needing to care for sentient life across multiple dimensions. I found that it helped me to relieve this burden by spending some time with individuals, solving small problems that were less complicated.
Yeah, trying to save the universe is pretty big.
It is.
But I never thought that I would betray somebody like that. I didn't think that I was that kind of person. And was I always that kind of person? Or did League bring out this kind of person in me? How do you make up for something like that?
Well, by continuing to do good work, I suppose, in the future. And realizing, I think, that it was important that you did what you did there. But it's also important that you're feeling these things now. We have to do what needs to be done, but we must also not become callous to the reality of it. It's not necessarily important that you feel guilty, but it is important that what you're feeling right now is you're feeling responsible. And you shouldn't lose that.
Thanks. It's really helpful. Also, do you know how to cut hair?
Yes. Also, I think I have something that might help cheer you up. Mordin pulls out a box. He said, this is a present for Nico, but I haven't seen her around, so
Oh!
we'll give it to her eventually, but we can use it one time and she won't notice. So Mordin pulls out a device. It looks like some weird futuristic device. It looks kind of like a mask, and it has a screen on one side, and the other side of it is like, it's shaped like it could go on somebody's face, but like the outside part that you would look at if this mask actually has a screen on it. He says, I know you're a fan of bright colors, and you're a very artistic person. This is an advanced device that is a cosmetic application mask. On the screen, you can customize whatever sort of face you want, and then you can turn around and put it on your face, and it will put on, through a lot of tiny micro applicators, any face of makeup you can think of, or remove one. I know that Nico is quite fond of her makeup, but I know that you're also fond of bright colors. So why don't you play around with this, and I'll get to work on evening up the ends here.
So, Nico walks in.
Hi, Nico.
Mordin, I heard you had something for me?
Luna puts it back in the box and then closes the box and then ties the ribbon again and then hands it to Nico.
I should have been like, Mordin reaches for a stapler.
I read a Muggle magazine that said if you're trying to get over something, you should cut off all your hair. I still feel sad, though. Maybe I didn't cut off enough of it.
Nico gets caught up on everything and just takes Luna to her room. It's alright, we'll take care of you.
I'm taking care of her. Mordin has very steady hands.
Shut up, you've never broken up with somebody.
Mordin
That
is
is
gonna
true.
make her look like a Solarian. It's great.
Yes, I'm gonna get her hair into like two little horns.
Luna would love that.
Yeah, don't worry, we can take care of this this kind of thing using magic.
I've missed you all so much.
Mordin, you have been hard at work on your long-term project of developing a cure for the Phyrexian infection.
Yes.
So this has been a very difficult project, even for you. One of the big issues is that the best and most significant sample of Phyrexianized tissue that you have came from the raptor lace, which presents all sorts of problems. You have no way of knowing if the Phyrexian plague would affect mammals in the same way, not to mention that Stitch's symbiote might have affected the spread of the infection in unique and unforeseen ways. But despite these difficulties, after a great many hours of work and tons of tests and trials, you have what you believe to be a working prototype of something that could serve as a cure for the Phyrexian plague.
Ooh, exciting.
The biggest issue at this point is that the tissue that you have came from the side of Lace's torso, meaning that you haven't been able to meaningfully examine what effect, if any, the Phyrexian plague would have on a subject's psychology. You've seen that the virus effectively reprograms a creature's thought patterns, so while your cure has a good chance of removing the physical manifestations of infection, you doubt that it would be able to undo the brainwashing effects and return the subject to its original mindset, at least without more experimentation and testing. But you do have, a working prototype of the cure for the time being.
That is awesome news.
We cut now to another part of Eternia, to Snake Mountain, a towering rocky fortress in the shape of a coiled snake with a river of lava flowing from between its open jaws. Within this fortress is a room featuring a dramatic throne made out of bones, and seated in this throne is Skeletor. Once known as the most feared villain on the planet, now finding himself alone in Snake Mountain. He slumps to one side in his throne, head resting in one hand, and he drums the fingers of his other hand on the arm of his throne.
There is a knock at the door.
Skeletor immediately straightens up, reclines back regally in his throne, and he calls out to the door, "I knew you would all be back, crawling your way back into Skeletor's good graces. Well, enter, fools, and pray do so on your bellies."
Luna just sort of pushes the door open. I imagine it's a massive door.
Yes.
Wriggles through with a basket in hand and the Havoc staff sort of like over her shoulder, and then sort of uses a shoulder to push the door closed. "No, it's just me. And can I not crawl? The floor has not been dusted in a while."
Skeletor stands up from his throne and says, You're one of those meddlers, that so-called extraordinary league. I'll have you know it's because of you that all my minions deserted me."
"Oh, I'm sorry. Is it because, are you lonely now?" Is that the problem?
Skeletor does not know loneliness. Skeletor only knows, well, frustration and indignation and, I don't know, some strange feeling that comes in the darkest hours of the evening when the echoes ring hollow in the deepest depths of Snake Mountain. But it's not loneliness. It is certainly not that.
Well, it doesn't sound nice, though. Here, I did not come empty-handed. I also brought flowers because it felt rude to come to your house without announcing myself and not bring something to make your house nice.
You brought me flowers?
Yeah. Do you have a vase?
Skeletor looks first to the left, then to the right, then back to you and says, "No, I do not have a vase."
Oh, you know what? I'm sure we can... Luna just grabs one of the skulls and, turns it upside down. It just puts the flowers in that. There, that's pretty fine.
You have brought me my Havoc staff back.
I did. You helped defend my friends from Desdemona, and that was very nice of you. And I felt like you didn't have to do that.
I'll have you know I didn't do it out of kindness. Demona had betrayed me. She had taken that which I had been seeking. It was an act of pure selfishness, pure evil.
They did not describe it that way. They said you seemed unhappy.
The rumors are already circulating, I can see. This is how it starts, mind you.
I'm not as good at this as I thought I was, but I don't want to have you as an enemy. I would rather have you as, if not a friend, then at least somebody who, if I, brought you flowers, you wouldn't be upset about it.
Skeletor looks at you, looks at his staff, looks at the skull with the flowers in it, and then looks back at you and says, "You're really just giving me my staff back?"
Well, I'm hoping that you won't come back and kill us all, but yes, I am just giving you your staff back.
Who can know what dark deeds lurk in the deepest reaches of Skeletor's mind? But I suppose I would need to get my minions back first, and that may be a time-consuming endeavor indeed, so no, I can't say that I intend on invading Castle Grayskull anytime soon.
Maybe don't try to find minions. Maybe you need friends to work on your projects with you.
Can I have my staff, please?
Yes. Here's your staff. I also shined the horns. They were getting a little dull.
Skeletor grabs his staff with both hands and, hugs it tight to him and, kind of nuzzles the skull on top slightly. And then he looks at the top of the skull and says, "You did shine this very well. How did you get it so bright?"
Oh, it's something I learned in Charms class. I can show you the charm if you want.
Skeletor looks at you and seems to, actually take you in for the first time. "May I ask a question?"
Yes.
"You seem as though you're going through something right now."
That is accurate.
"Is there something you want to talk about?"
I honestly was not expecting you to want to know about it. I made friends with a villain. You know what? I don't want to call him a villain. Let's say a complicated person. I made friends with a complicated person, but I really hurt his feelings by not trusting him. And he's in another world and I can never go back there. Well, probably not for a while. And I feel really bad about it. And so I'm working through this. And I felt bad about not giving you the staff back whenever you wanted it back. And here we are in this place with these flowers and your Havoc staff.
And how do you feel about the decision you've just made?
If you do something to hurt people, that's your choice. So, I don't know. I feel okay about it. How do you feel about the things you're thinking about doing?
I'm not sure. I had thought that in order to get this staff back, I would have to storm the gates of Grayskull, sneak inside, slaughter anyone that got in my way, and then you just appear and give it back to me along with flowers, and you say that you're trying to do right by a person you've never properly met. What is your name, by the way?
Oh, it's Luna.
Oh. Hello, Luna. I am Skeletor, Overlord of Evil.
That's a pretty nice title. I also have brought muffins.
Are those the blueberry kind?
I think they're blueberry.
Ugh.
I did just use whatever berries there were, so...
I really shouldn't. I'm trying to keep my figure, you know.
Why are you worried about it? You look so strong.
Well, that's because I don't eat a lot of muffins.
Well, look at it this way. Who's here to see you eat these muffins except us?
You know what? You're right. If Skeletor is known for one thing, it's being bad. And then he reaches over and takes a muffin.
Wow.
God.
Eventually, all of you are, of course, called into a meeting with the leaders of the league. You enter your usual meeting room, complete with long stone table and uncomfortable stone chairs, and you find it a bit more crowded than usual. In addition to Buffy and Doc Brown, there's a number of the league's magic users present, including Zelda, Titania, Elphaba, and Geralt. On the table in between them are the 3 round-colored gems that you've retrieved so far, and Zelda seems to be just now finishing up a spell that she's casting on a small disc, about the same size and shape as a pocket watch. Once everyone has sat down, Buffy steps forward. Guys, we're getting so close to actually doing this. We have 3 of the gems mentioned in the Planeswalker Tome, just 2 more to go, and we'll have the means to defeat Phyrexia once and for all. And she then pauses slightly and turns toward the assembled magic users and says, how are we coming along on that front, by the way? Any luck figuring out exactly what those things do or how to activate them? Zelda says, not exactly. Geralt scoffs and says, if I didn't know any better, I'd think that these 3 gems may be the least magical objects in the multiverse. They're not responding to any of our divinations at all, and most of the spells that we attempt on them do little or nothing at all. Elphaba then leans forward with her elbows on the table and says, some of us think that may actually be a defense mechanism of the gems themselves. Whoever created them wouldn't have wanted the Phyrexians to be able to find and destroy them, so they likely were made to resist most varieties of magic. Buffy nods and says, well, it's all we have to go on right now, so we'll have to keep looking for the other gems, at least for the time being.
Do you want me to try?
She looks at the other magic users who wave their hands freely towards you, and Elphaba says, be our guest.
I'll point the staff toward the stones and say, let's see, instruction manual. That's a green.
Your spell goes off. You can feel it travel from the end of your staff towards the gems, and just as it touches the surface of the gems, it just fizzles out altogether, as though you had never cast it in the first place.
Yeah, that's weird.
Buffy says, well, that brings us to our meeting today, I guess. Doc? Doc Brown stands up. After doing some research into the Planeswalker Tome, we believe we have discovered the plane with one of the 2 remaining gems. That's the good news. The bad news is, the plane in question was absorbed into Phyrexia a few years ago.
Oh.
As you might imagine, we have a number of cells that go into Phyrexia fairly regularly to gather information, rescue prisoners, and perform acts of sabotage, and as far as they can tell, there's been no word of the Phyrexians finding a mysterious gem of some kind. We can't be certain, of course, but as far as we can tell, the gem is in Phyrexia, but hasn't been discovered by the Phyrexians yet. We're going to need you to go in and find it.
Stitch looks very uncomfortable and looks over at Lace.
Mordin just, puts his hands on his temples and he's just head is down, not looking happy.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Do we know what this plane used to be?
Doc Brown says, no, we never sent in any scouts before it was assimilated into Phyrexia, so we have no idea precisely what it was, but it's been a few years, so it's certainly at least partially assimilated into Phyrexia right now. It may be indistinguishable from the rest of it.
Who have you sent here before us? Who has done the best in Phyrexia?
Buffy says, well, you've already met up with Samus and Beatrix's cell. They're the ones that are currently there right now, and they're the ones that are going to be waiting for you on the other side of the extraction point when you get there.
Are we very likely to die, or only mostly likely to die?
Buffy says, I have faith in you guys. I mean, if you had told me that you were going to run into Cthulhu on the last plane, I would have said you were very likely to die, but you ended up finding a way around that. You're our best hope right now.
I'm okay with this. I have a finger.
Well, it will provide me plenty of new data on whether or not I can get my cure to work.
Doc Brown says, that's a good point. You've been working on that cure. Perhaps you could bring a few samples with you, see if you can capture a Phyrexian or 2 and see if it actually works.
Yes, that was what I was thinking.
Could just do it with magic.
At this point, Zelda holds up the pocket watch-sized object that she's been focused on since you entered. The casing of the object is gold and filigreed, and the part that would be the face of the watch, if this thing was a pocket watch, is instead a light blue oval with a rectangular blue jewel in the center. The whole thing hangs from a looped cord like a necklace. She says, "You can use this to find the gem. The gems can't be located by traditional divination magic, but we've managed to enchant this magic compass so that it'll pick up on objects with an unusually low magical field. A way of looking for the absence, if you will, looking for the hole in magic that the gem would occupy."
That's pretty ingenious, honestly.
Thank you. We've been hard at work. We've been able to pick up the other 3 gems with it, so with any luck, the 4th gem should be able to be picked up by this as well. She then holds it out, so whoever wishes to take it may do so.
I'll take it.
Stitch, runs over to him and Nico snatches it away.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew I had to act quickly on this one.
You sure did.
Hey guys, where can I get a new sword around here?
Geralt looks up at you and says, "Have you tried the armory?"
It's in the armory?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the armory.
We've never been into a place that's this heavily controlled by the Phyrexians, not since you first found us in that Phyrexian laboratory. Do you have any advice about tactics we should employ or anything that we should do differently on this plane than we have on other ones?
Buffy thinks and says, "You aren't going to have the advantage of numbers, not by a long shot. They know the area better than you do, they outnumber you, and with a lot of them, all it would take is one hit and you'll be infected. So, you're going to want to play this safe. You're going to want to try to minimize your risks, try to think things through, try to draw as little attention to yourself as possible. The cell you're going to be uniting with has a lot of knowledge about the surrounding environment, so use their expertise. Try to find a way to the gem that will draw as little attention to you as possible. That's about all I can recommend."
Are you sure that we are the best cell for that job?
She looks at you, Mordin, and says, "Look, we didn't get off on the best foot. You and me and, well, my cell and everything. We had a rough first time when we were in Phyrexia. But I've been watching all of you. You've been growing and learning and getting better. You still have a long ways to go, but I wouldn't have called you here if I didn't genuinely think that you were the best hope for us. That's all I can say."
Mordin nods.
So, Dante, you arrive at the League Armory. It's a kind of medium-sized room with a number of shelves. Stitch has been here before, which is where he found his guitar Marlene. So yeah, you are seeing shelves of various weapons and armor and weird sort of objects and items and artifacts from all sorts of worlds that the League has collected and assembled here.
It's beautiful. So, I'm looking through the swords, and I settle on a rather nice one that says, "Suck it, Skeletor," on a note underneath it or something.
Yeah, so Dante, the last time you saw this sword, it was being wielded by Stitch and cutting off your own hand.
And then the wave of realization crosses my face, and I angrily throw it across the room, and I realize that it flies very true.
Yeah, I mean, it probably, buries itself a good foot in where you threw it.
So then I'm gonna take it.
All right. Dante has acquired the Power Sword of Grayskull.
I'll go out into one of the courtyards. Whatever the gardens are. I'm sure there's some nice gardens.
Right now you look and you see Vivian. She's cruising around through the garden and occasionally like going a few steps and then stopping and waiting for a little bit. She has headphones in. She's also holding a little pamphlet. She has a little lanyard with a name tag hanging from it around her neck.
Luna wanders over to stand next to you and is not listening to and can't hear anything that's going on in the earbuds, but is taking the same number of steps as you. Just sort of enjoying this strange walk that you're going on.
Vivian's going to turn around and see Luna behind her and leap up in the air, and her headphones are going to fly off, and then she's going to shrink down into the shadows.
I'm sorry. I thought...
And then pop up, and she says, "Wow, no one's ever snuck up on me before." Must have been the headphones. I didn't realize I've never worn those things before. You kind of get in your own little world there.
Is this the tour?
Yeah, it's a new thing that Elijah's put together to help orient new recruits so that we'd all be on the same page. Yeah, and he gave me this little lanyard name tag thing to wear. Dante said something about only nerds wear those, but I kind of like it, so I don't know.
I like it too. I mean, I can change the pattern on it or put a different picture on it if you want.
Oh, it's fine. I don't know. I was thinking maybe get some stickers or something for it later.
That sounds nice. I bet Nico has some very nice stickers.
Yeah. I heard you guys are going on another mission.
Yes. I have to talk to Venusaur and see if he wants to go. This is going to be... We're going into Phyrexia.
Oh, yeah, those are the bad guys. I've learned about them. That was one of the last stops. There was a whole thing I heard about those guys. They sound pretty nasty.
Yeah. They do not seem like the kind of people who can have friends. Or just not kill people sometimes. I'm glad you don't have to go on this one yet. It does not sound like very much fun.
I would like to be there to protect you guys, but if I'm being honest, I'm kind of glad that I don't have to go on this one either.
You know what? You can stay here and keep up the drag racing.
I'm not very good at that either. I have trouble with the pedals.
I bet if you practice, whenever Lace comes back, you can kick her butt.
Well, I better get going. I'm kind of falling behind on this tour. It's like timed, so I'm like a couple stops behind now, so I gotta catch up.
That does sound like a thing Elijah Snow would do.
Bye, Luna.
Bye. Is Venusaur around?
Yes, Venusaur is sort of sunning himself, looking very content.
Aw, how are you?
He grins a big lizardy grin and says, Venus, and reaches out his vines to hug you.
Aww. I was gonna bring you a snack, but I know you mostly eat sunshine.
Venusaur.
That is true. So, we got our next assignment. We're going to Phyrexia. It is going to be incredibly dangerous and probably very, very scary almost all the time. And any of us could get infected and turn into Phyrexians or be killed. Do you feel okay going on this? You will be in your Pokeball a lot because I don't, obviously the Pokeball is a much smaller target. I know it gets cramped in there sometimes, so we'll definitely let you out. But I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want any of us to get hurt.
Venusaur looks up at the sunlight streaming down on him, closes his eyes, takes a few long, good seconds of photosynthesis, and then one of his vines comes up and offers you his Pokeball.
Aww. Thanks, Venusaur.
So I think we're going to cut to Mordin's lab, and you're going to see papers that are, lying on the ground. And there's a few, little test tubes that have been knocked over. And so Mordin's, looking around at a bit of chaos, because apparently some of the other leaguers, one of their go-kart races passed through the thing. And there's some, chairs knocked over and stuff like that. Mordin pulls out a device that he has strapped to his waist. It's like a sort of big, heavy-looking futuristic gun. And he flips it on. And then he points it at one of the nearby chairs. The chair gets pulled in to the gun, and then it sort of uprights itself, and then he sets it down. And then he does the same thing on some, of the papers, and he's sort of practicing with it, trying to get good at it, putting things in his lab back in order using the device.
I heard noise. Is there fun in here?
If you consider organizing a laboratory fun, which I certainly do.
Stitch slowly closes the door.
Mordin's gonna point the gravity gun at Stitch and try to pull him in with it.
Yeah!
So yeah, butt first into the gun? Is that how it works?
Pretty fun device, isn't it?
Make him shoot me!
Mordin's gonna lean out into a hallway with no sensitive lab equipment and fire Stitch down the hall. Mordin then is gonna walk over and catch up to Stitch and says, it might be from the same world that my portal gun came from, but I'm not 100% certain about that. But a lot of the underlying technology appears the same. So far, the name that the quartermaster has given it is the gravity gun, so that's what I've been calling it. Should come in quite useful.
Yeah, nerd stuff. It's cool.
So, Mordin, are you also going to be taking some of your prototypical Phyrexian cure with you?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And as much lab equipment as I could take to have, a portable little, suitcase lab, as much as I can bring without being, ridiculously encumbered, I imagine I would like to bring along.
Your Omni tool does a lot of the heavy lifting for you in that sense, so you only have to take a few extra tools with you.
Sure.
Can we say that Sombra did modifications to the Omni tool, so it's basically expanded power? Sombra can put screens anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas the Omni tool is just your wrist. So she expanded it so Mordin has a much bigger virtual lab, like Tony Stark level lab, but it's gonna be pink.
Yeah, I think so.
It's gonna randomly play Lucha Underground.
Fuck yeah.
Before we continue on to this part, I want to give you an out-of-character warning, GM to players. Mm-hmm. So as you might have guessed, given the nature of this world I'm sending you to, this arc has the potential to be extremely lethal.
Okay.
I'm not going to be mean to you guys or anything. Like, I'm not going to be unfair. And I realize that, you like making stupid jokes and goofing around and that sort of thing, and I don't want to cut down on that. So I'm going to give you a little wiggle room, but, like, if you guys consistently do dumb things in a very concentrated manner, I'm going to react as Phyrexia would, and they are very powerful. I am not advocating you guys to do one thing or the other. I want you to go in knowing what the cause and effect is going to be of your actions.
It's for real, guys. It's for real now.
Yeah,
I know, I'm so scared. I don't want to die.
Yeah, Dan, I like the idea of a more serious thing where, I mean, after the dumb, random craziness of Mushroom Kingdom, shit's getting real. If we mess up, we die, and I'm down with some of that.
If you guys want to keep doing that, that's fine. I just want you to know that things are going to be different in Phyrexia than they have been in every other world you've been to so far.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the warning.
So once you're all ready, you all gather back together in the arrivals room. The DDC is set, and with a pop followed by a crackling noise, the DDC opens, and a white field of electricity spreads out to cover all of you. Grayskull vanishes around you, instantly replaced by a different world. Before you can even look around, the first and most immediate thing that registers is the sensation of falling. Wind howls around your ears as you plummet with increasing speed downward. You catch a glimpse of a sickly gray-yellow sky above and a city of glistening black metal and stone below, but the city below is coming closer at a very terrifyingly fast rate. What do you do?
I'll pull out my broom, and probably the only person I can grab and get on that is Stitch.
No, Lace!
Pull out my portal gun.
Brace for impact.
I say stealth helicopter.
Really? Miles, not parachutes or something?
No, helicopter. Well, that's a yellow.
So, Nico, what happens exactly with stealth helicopter?
A fucking invisible helicopter that doesn't make noise with its blades appears below us with an open hatch.
Appears below us, falling on top of a helicopter is not good.
Right, appears to our side with a ladder down.
Can we see it? Is this like
Can we see the ropes?
invisible jet?
We could just say it like appears around us.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
We're now in a
that works
stealth
better.
helicopter.
Nico, with your yellow, the helicopter does indeed appear around everyone, catching everyone safely. It's not going to last for very long, so you'll probably have to take it down, but everyone has been saved by what would be, at the very least, a very uncomfortable fall.
And now we have a helicopter for a few minutes, guys.
What can we see?
Now that your life isn't in immediate danger, you're able to look around at your surroundings more carefully. You've been in cities that have been undergoing the process of Phyrexian conversion before, but this place you're in now is by far the furthest along in the process that you've seen. The buildings and many other structures have been turned into black metal, but it's clear that more than just their material composition has changed. Some of them have been transformed into twisting shapes that appear jagged and disturbingly organic. Others have become towering and monolithic. A glistening substance partway between oil and tar drips in thick ropes from many surfaces and runs down the gutters of the street. The air here reeks of gasoline, and you can hear the constant sounds of different types of machinery drifting up from various locations below you.
Are there creatures around?
Not directly below you. It actually looks as though you materialized above a relatively deserted area of the city. But further off, you can see that there are parts where the streets are covered in Phyrexians. In some areas, the walls are covered in crawling Phyrexians. And you can see several areas where Phyrexians are flying through the sky, either on their own wings or on flying vehicles of different types.
Mordin turns to Nico and says, what does that device that we were given say, that compass? Where should we be going?
I examine it.
The compass is basically, as I mentioned, it's sort of a flat disc hanging from like a necklace. Zelda showed you how to use it beforehand. Essentially, if you focus your magical energy into the gem, all it takes is a little spark, and it will shine a light in the direction of the nearest sort of void of magic that would indicate a gem.
Okay. I activate it.
There's a brief glimmer of blue light from the compass, and you see a beam of blue light shines out in a seemingly random direction into the city.
That way.
Stitch gets behind the controls of the helicopter and takes her that way.
Maybe we should be touching down shortly before this thing, whatever it is, vanishes or someone detects us somehow. Mordin kind of looks his head out the window. It's like, are we visible? What is this?
No, we are invisible. Everything's invisible. But we should probably touch down. That's a good idea.
Stitch is gonna angle the helicopter so it's heading in the direction, but like downward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mordin is going to look in the direction that the light shined off in and see if he can notice anything on the horizon there, any notable structures or anything that it might be pointing at.
It's difficult. It appears as though the gem is so distant that you're not 100% sure where precisely it is, but you're kind of seeing the general area of this city that it's in. Once you get closer, the compass will likely be able to be more precise in terms of, where exactly it's leading you. So the invisible helicopter touches down on a relatively deserted street below you, and then fades away.
Wait, you know how to fly a helicopter?
Stitch looks over his shoulder and is like, yeah, you don't?
As you're all looking around attempting to figure out the best way of heading in the direction that the compass showed you, you hear a brief and urgent call to you from somewhere nearby. Looking, you see that there's a structure built into the sidewalk. It looks like it's maybe about the size of like an outdoor shed that you would see in someone's backyard, but it's all black metal and curved edges. It's emitting a low thrumming noise. And you see that leaning out from behind it is a towering figure in red, yellow, and orange power armor with a lime green visor. You all recognize this, of course, as Samus, one of the members of the League cell that you were sent here to meet.
Whoa!
And she is gesturing urgently for you to join her behind this device.
Dan, I point the staff at her and I say, confirm identity. Green.
Yeah, so I don't know how you want this spell to manifest visibly. Maybe like her driver's license pops up in front of you or something.
It's the Twitter confirmed mark.
That's very good.
That's good.
Floating check mark.
Either way, the spell confirms that this is indeed Samus.
Alright, let's go.
So all of you join her behind this device, and she says, glad to see that you survived the trip. That extraction point used to be at the top of a building that we were using as a base. But a couple of days ago, the Phyrexians figured out what was going on and just blew the damn thing up. We barely made it out, and we've only just now managed to set up a new hideout a few blocks away from here. We heard you were supposed to be coming with something that'll help us track down the next gem, right?
Yeah, these. I flexed.
I hold up the amulet.
Samus looks over at Dante and kind of like cocks her head for like several seconds as though she's like genuinely appraising it and just sort of like actually nods her approval and says, good. And then she turns to Nico and says, so that's it, huh?
Yeah, this is it.
Was that the only extraction point?
Well, it's the nearest one. Every plane has at least a few, but that's the closest one we're gonna find. We can figure out where exactly this gem is once we're able to triangulate a little better. Beatrix, Toothless, and Luca are back at our hideout. Raceland and I were positioned here to watch for your arrival. Raceland is somewhere off down the street, so we should probably... And then she stops as a sound like a jet engine suddenly comes down from the gray sky above. Samus cranes her neck upward and seizes up as a distant glowing blue fireball is illuminated in her green visor. Her voice is suddenly uncharacteristically small as she says, no, please no, please no. The blue fireball streaks through the sky, growing closer and closer with terrifying speed. It lands with an echoing crack at the far end of the street, sending up shockwaves and stray ripples of blue flame before flickering out. Standing in the shallow impact crater is a young woman with long black hair, wearing light black armor over a loose-fitting red outfit that somewhat suggests a Chinese design. She steps out of the smoking crater, and her eyes begin to scan over the surrounding area, heading toward you with an eager grin on her face. And she says, hello! Don't be shy now, I just want to welcome you to the neighborhood. No use hiding. I know you're here, and I'll find you eventually. Why don't you come on out and introduce yourself? I'm sure we'll be fast friends. As you all are sort of hiding behind this device, as this figure walks closer to you, a whispery voice calls out from the other end of the street and says, Looking for me? The recently arrived flaming figure turns to see a figure in black robes holding a crystal-topped staff about 50 feet behind her. And she says, "Well, hello there. And who might you be?" "I am Raceland Majer, wizard of high sorcery, hero of the lance, and master of past and present. I have come to take this world apart piece by piece, and I have no qualms about starting with you." The woman throws her head back and cackles and says, "Oh, you are just adorable. Honestly, I just want to put you in my pocket and carry you around like a little pet. Do you know what I am, little mortal? What I have become?" Raceland grips his staff with both hands as a half-dozen spells begin to flicker around him. "I do not fear you. I have faced down gods and won." The woman shakes her head. "You know, saying you've beaten gods is a very empty and not particularly convincing argument."
Mordin nods approvingly. He's like, that is right, that is very vague.
"I don't care how many small gods you've faced down, wizard. Let's see how you do against a real force of power." At this point, Samus turns towards all of you and says, "That's Azula, the Red Praetor of Phyrexia. Raceland is drawing her attention so that we can escape. We have got to get out of here. That compass you're carrying is the only way we beat Phyrexia."
Mordin says, but she's not aware of us, and Mordin does a quick head count. That's 7 of us, is that correct, Dan?
5 of you plus Samus plus Raceland plus Lace. So 8 altogether.
I'm gonna say Lace's head is bowed. Her body language really reads as, like, scared.
Mordin says there are, well, at least 6 of us, depending on how many animal sidekicks you wish to count. When are we going to get a better chance to defeat her, if not now?
Samus, stares at you for several long seconds and says, "Have you gone up against a Praetor before? Because 6 is not nearly enough. Not even close."
We've never been here before. I think we have to trust Samus's judgment. Is there anything we can do to help Raceland and not all die?
She looks back at where the two are beginning to square off, and you see her arm that doesn't end in a cannon. The hand clenches in frustration, and she says, I don't think there is."
I'm gonna hold my staff against the ground. I'm hoping for the effect that I'm gonna create to basically, go along the ground toward Raceland. Hopefully unnoticed, if there's any effect at all. But anyway, I'm going to say maximize magic. Shit, I got a white, though.
Raceland suddenly begins to glow with untold amounts of arcane energy as Nico's spell snakes into him, and his power begins to magnify several times over. The magical energy around him is swirling like a tempest, and you can see the gray clouds above him are corkscrewing around, carried on the currents of mana that he's channeling around him. Azula sees what's happening, tilts her head to the side, and then turns and looks directly back at where all of you are standing.
Oh, shit.
God damn it.
Now we should run.
Raceland then raises up his hand, spreads his fingers out wide, and the air between him and Azula is suddenly filled with freezing mist and chunks of ice that fly at her in this wide cone, seeming to completely engulf her in layer upon layer of ice. The spell lasts for several seconds, and basically the entire half a block in front of him is frozen over completely from his spell, and he looks at his hand in astonishment as though he himself has never actually cast Cone of Cold with that level of effect. But then the ice statue that is Azula begins to smoke, and the ice on it begins to run as it is melting.
We should run now.
Raceland, are you coming with us?
Raceland glances up at all of you, looks over at the melting ice sculpture that is Azula, and then just sort of shakes his head, waves his hand for you all to run, and then readies his staff for her escape.
Thank you. We won't waste this opportunity you've given us.
All of you race down the street with Samus leading the way, and the last thing that you're aware of before you turn the corner is a tremendous flash of red light and a feeling of almost unbearable heat hitting your back. And you know that attack was not directed at you, but at the person who just helped to save your life. And that's game. Extraordinary League is produced by Dan Mulkerin, with logo design by Claire Mulkerin.
Special thanks to Kevin McLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Motherload, and to TabletopAudio.com for our background music and ambient sound effects.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Do you want to meet Flemeth in her throne room at the center of the castle?
I mean, sure. Unless there's not like a coffee shop, I guess. Like, is there a Starbucks?
There probably is. There's 50 cans of Cool Whip.
It's Eternia. I mean, Eternia is made out of things that look exactly the same and are abundant.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you know,
that's-
if you want,
Please.
well, okay, here's the thing. Flemeth can't leave the castle in human form anymore because she's now the sorceress.
There's
so
a
anywhere she
Starbucks
goes...
in the castle.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Well, there's a mess hall in the castle. You guys could, like, be talking
There's
there.
Starbucks, like, in Target.
Tell me what I
now.
want to know, Dan.
I think you mean, tell me what I want to hear.
No, I just want a straight answer from you.
I love that Liz is equivalent to like, oh, of course there's Starbucks in Eternia. There's Starbucks in Targets now.
Yeah, seriously. Listen, I've been to weirder places than Castle Grayskull, and they all had Starbucks,
Okay,
alright?
you know what? Sure. Someone has set up a Starbucks. Howard Schultz is a member of the Extraordinary League.
Shit, I got a white, though.
Oh no.
Okay.
Is he just gonna have like an erection for 4 hours? Is that what you fucking did?
I mean, it could also go to a different character, but...
Oh no.
No, Dan, give him the erection. Don't do that.
Kit, you screaming in panic, no, Dan, give him an erection.
Is that gonna be your new alert tone for me?
What I'm picturing is that everything is like covered in salmonella, except it's like Phyrexian stuff. We could get tetanus at any moment, which is different salmonella, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Everyone get your Phyrexia vaccine.
I will say, and Mordin does have a working prototype, like, Phyrexia vaccine, so we don't know if it'll work, but I can, like, give it a shot, you know, so... Not intentional.
That's a wrap.